single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Hey y'all, I'm back. I'm actually in my car. I'm gonna eat. So this is probably gonna be like a little mukbang. I got some Wendy's. I don't know what we about to call this. A vlog / a mukbang. But I wanted to get on here because I don't know when I'll get back on. I really can't promise you I'll get back on later on this week. But I wanted to talk about my experience with charter school versus public school. I am in my first year of education. Told you my background. Worked in accounting, didn't like it. Got tired of it for like 9 years. Got my degree in it, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I decided to pursue a career change in education because that was something that I always wanted to try, but I didn't. So, with the help of a great friend, she got me in, helped to get me in at her school that she was working at, which was a charter school, and they needed a full-time sub. And 5th grade math. So that's what I did. I didn't really care for, I love my 5th graders, don't get me wrong, but I didn't care for the age because I felt like they were still kind of too babyfied for me. I had to walk them to the bathroom when I acted as a TA. I needed to just follow up behind them more than what I wanted to. At that school, there was a TA in every classroom, which at first I was like, oh, that's cool. So you have the help that you need in the classroom. So as you're teaching, you're supposed to have someone monitoring the classroom and making sure students are on task, making sure that they understand what the task is. So while I'm up at the board, the TA would be helping with the behavior, making sure students stayed on task, understood what's going on. So it was a great idea. People know the idea. We were in 5th grade, so we did rotations and we did centers. And again, that's a great idea. When I first got there, I was in the 3rd grade class with an awesome teacher and a great TA who really had a really good schedule for their students within their classroom, and I saw how it was supposed to work, and I thought that it was really good. When I moved to 5th grade, the behavior of my students was pretty off. They were very, very, very talkative, and it was separated into high, low, medium groups. And my high group was extremely talkative. I would have them at the beginning of the day. So spending most of my time, basically, if I was going over how to divide a multi-digit number, okay, class, you're going to do step 1, please stop talking. Then you're going to do step 2, please stop talking. Then you're going to do step 3, stop talking, stop talking, stop talking. Then you're going to do step 4. I want you to try, please stop talking. So essentially, I was tired by the time I got to my last class because I'm spending my time, instead of teaching, I'm coupling it up with discipline issues. And one thing I did not care for, there was no consequences for the students that went to the school. No consequences. And I understood why, but children was not suspended at the school. They would get in-school suspension, which was like a off day for some of them. I mean, for everything from being disrespectful to the teacher to fighting. In-school suspension. I did not care for that. I don't know if all charter schools are like that, but for me, I didn't care for that because I feel like students need to know that bad behavior will cost you. I'm not saying we need to be hard. We need to treat them like we're in jail, but we need to let children know that your behavior will not be tolerated. And we need to let parents know that so they will encourage their students or their child to behave themselves. So, then I noticed there was a lot of scheduling conflicts for me. Conflicts in that they would want you to test one week, then retest the following week for those who didn't get a certain percentage on the first test. And your TAs will have an intervention time at the beginning of class where they were supposed to do the intervention with the students who maybe did not do well on their exit tickets while you were going over homework or some maybe a bell ringer. But that didn't work out either. It would sometimes. And it was a lot of work because there was a point where the TA switched to more of a teacher role and I was more of a TA, so I would do the intervention. It was a lot of work, but I did see some payoff with that when I switched into being more of a TA role. What else? The students. Back to the different discipline the students in terms of suspensions are COR, but they wouldn't give them stuff either. Like, it was a quiet zone in the cafeteria, talking during the morning at breakfast. Basically no recess. They thought basically whatever happened that they got their recess taken from them. When I got there, they didn't have any recess, so it was off. So for me, they never had any downtime, these children, except maybe PE, which they got, I think, twice a week, something like that. And I feel like that impacted them in a negative way because children need downtime. Like at the school I'm at now, they get electives. It's not a very highly funded public school. Like, they don't have the nicest building, but they have certain things like music, choir, art. They have those electives, like an art room, like a place where they go for choir. Because the school I was at, the art teacher would come into the classroom with the students, which is fine, whatever. But, and my kids have recess at the school I'm at now. And I noticed a difference in behavior. A difference in the behavior with my kids now. And they can get suspended. I've never had to suspend anybody. But when I tell them I'm gonna write them and put them in the TOR, them kids be like, oh, it I don't know, it's different. I don't know, it's just different here. It may just be a different set of children. It could be the culture of the school. I'm not sure. Again, first year teaching, I'm just going off of my experience. In my current school, I like how at the charter school, I felt like we were doing a whole lot of things that at the end of the day did not produce anything. Like, it always felt like somebody was down your throat or somebody was watching you. Not just with the observations, but with the number of observations that they would do. It was no downtime for the teachers. It wasn't no such thing. I don't even recall having a planning period. I would be told it was a planning period, but it always felt like I was at a meeting of a planning period. There was no downtime for the teachers either. So, I mean, just a moment to say, let me chill out. You, I don't know, the lunch, most schools, I believe, you can't go off campus for lunch. But I don't know. It was no downtime for the teachers, even within your planning period. Like at the school I'm at now, I can do I can do whatever I want in reason with my planning period. For example, I asked my principal a couple of days ago if I can start tutoring during my planning period instead of having to stay after school, because many of the students who I would want to tutor or need tutoring have electives during my planning period. So for a day out of the week, they could come during my planning period and we can go over some fundamentals that maybe they missed previously to help strengthen them in their math skills. And she was like, yeah, your planning period is your time. If you want to do that, you have that freedom. I wouldn't have had that at the other school that I was at. Or if I did, sure didn't feel like it. But I felt that, and I don't want to say like everybody was bad or anything. And this, I didn't have a horrible experience with the administration, because I think the principal there, I think she was just overworked, to be honest. I think she had a lot of stuff she was doing outside of what a normal principal would probably have to do, maybe. But she was as supportive of her staff as I think she could have been, considering everything she had to do. It just seemed like a lot of paperwork and a lot of stuff that, not just her, but just for overall. Like at my current school, I do not have a TA in my room. It's just me with the students. I'm gonna have an observation on Monday coming, this Monday coming. But what I like about it, I don't feel like I'm constantly being monitored or constantly being watched, constantly being critiqued. And I understand why they were doing it, because in my mind, and I could be very much wrong, with a charter school, you have to prove why you're open and the purpose of your mission for a school to be open. Like what need are you meeting? In addition to that, you have to make sure you have the right qualified teachers in place to fulfill the academic role, to help fulfill the academic role of the students. So you have to look, monitor, critique everything to make sure everyone stays on task. But it became too much. Like within the classroom, they wanted you to rotate every day, and sometimes there was no time to rotate every day and have 4 rotations every day. So instruct for 30, have 4 rotations, and deal with the behavioral issues of students. And it just, to me, a lot of the stuff was impossible. Or it felt that way. And then being so boggled down by just all the critiques and the teaching. When I go in class, I'm not stressed. I'm not. I feel like my principal gives me room to teach. I feel like I'm able to be me at this school, even though some things I would change, like the pay. But I'm able to be more flexible. And as weird as it is, without having a TA, I feel like I manage my students better here. Because when the school has a culture of your behavior will not be tolerated, and we're not just saying it. We have actions behind that. Parents support the teacher in the classroom. And then you have a teacher who maintains the behavior of everything. So I'm cool with it. What else is different? They pay the teachers will pay more at the charter school versus here. So that's a given. But there are pros and cons everywhere. However you slice it. I do think charter school, well, I think school in general to some degree has a form of politics involved in your treatment and everything. But it was a good experience being at a charter school. It was my first experience. I did learn a lot. I had a master teacher. Ooh, that was so nasty. I had a master teacher who really was very helpful. And both charter and I'm sorry, I'm talking about my mouth. Both charter and public school. The master teachers have been great and have been giving me great feedback. Overall, so I don't have any complaints. I think I'm done. I'm mad that I'm done. I hate when the meal is over. But yeah. But overall, with teaching, you have pros, you have cons. I do like the grades that I'm teaching. I do like middle school. I feel like they're old enough now. I don't have to baby them that much. I expect they're more mature, even though some of them do act more childish. I like the group of students that I have, and I think that makes a difference as well. I do like the support of my principal. The size of the campus or the size of the student body is what to where I was at previously at the charter school. I just think it's just a different group of kids and a different administration. But that makes a difference overall with behavior, with the parents being supportive as well. I mean, at my charter school, parents, like for parent teacher conferences, parents would show up. So I just don't. Would I ever go back to the charter school? I don't know. I really don't. Well, that was my experience. I hope I wasn't rambling too much. The behavior, the culture of the school, money wise, I talked about that. And would I ever go back? I like where I'm at now. I just wish I got paid more. I wish that, and I wish I had more resources. But if I got paid more, then I could spend some money to get the resources that I need, like the graphing, dry erasable boards. I feel like my 8th graders need, and 7th grade as well. Is working on the coordinate planes, and we're doing pre-algebra. We're doing geometry in 8th grade. I think that it would work so much better for us. But that is my time. Welcome to my channel. I will be posting more and more. Subscribe, leave advice, and tell me about what your experience is and how do you feel about charter school versus public schools. Do you feel like me that you're going to have positives and negatives everywhere? You're dealing with children, little human beings, and no, nothing is going to be perfect with that. My workload, because I'm teaching 3 different subjects, 3 different grade levels, my workload is pretty different. I don't know. I just think because I have more room here to just, I have more. I feel like I have more room to be the teacher I want to be. And at the charter school, it was almost like they were on your neck about stuff all the time to the point where you couldn't be flexible. You couldn't. You couldn't just be yourself. And what I mean by that, I'm a very creative person. I love to think outside of the box. So even though with using Eureka, we don't do rotations in middle school. I follow Eureka, I don't want to say to the T. I follow what information they give me and I present it to my students in my own way. That's what I do. And we still do exit tickets and everything. I don't know. I just feel like I'm able to be more flexible in my teaching. And as, it's not as, they're not down my back as much as I felt. Not just me, but other teachers as well, how I felt they were very strict on them. And I understand why from my viewpoint, because they were also strict on the administrators. So I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying it was a horrible school or it was a horrible experience. I'm not saying that at all. I'm grateful for the experience. It was my first official teaching experience. I learned a lot about the do's and don'ts of this thing. And so I put no one down. I enjoyed I enjoyed what I learned while I was there. And the only reason why I left is because when I got hired, I was supposed to move to middle school to another permanent sub position for middle school within a couple of months of me being there, and they ended up going in a different direction. So I just came over here to the new school that I'm at because they had a middle school position open, and I wanted to work in middle school with 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, and I'm glad I did. I just wanted to work within that age group and teach that subject matter because I just like middle school math. I just like it. So yeah, but that's my time. I'll see y'all some other time. I have to go back in and finish teaching. I was on my little break. Time to go back in. See you later, guys. Bye.